We got ourselves an X-Men fan. Maybe a quarter of it happened, and not like this. It seems to me the strength of Wolverine is more the humanity than his superpower. In exploring this character, I really wanted to get to the heart of who that human was.
Putting superheroes into very real situations that we all can connect with, to me, is a way to suddenly reveal new aspects of these characters that we hadn't seen.
There was a longing on our part to try to take a more classic approach, to do a more character-based story.
What a disappointment you are. It was clearly going to be of a very different nature from the way the other films in the franchise have been seen before.
It seems to be tapping into some sort of classic American storytelling. It feels both kind of old-fashioned and new and fresh at the same time.
It's a movie about family. It's a movie about love.
It's much more dramatic. It's much more real. It's entirely different than we've seen Logan.
I am fucked up. I cannot get you there. I want the audience to feel everything. I want them to be outraged. I want them to laugh. I want them to yell. I want them to, by the end, feel like they've got to know fully and understand this human, this man called Logan.
Save the not okay, meaning it's boom, she looks at you, get her attention. Not, you mean make sure she has your attention.
Got it.
Give her a lesson. Then pull her out and kind of go, do you have fun? But like really throw it away. Do you have fun, Chargers? Like, but like just underplay it. Let's see if it works. Here we go. The only thing that made us interested in kind of going around again was the idea of doing something very different. Not just different in storyline, but different in tone.
We both wanted a movie that was a standalone movie that wasn't necessarily intermingled with the history of X-Men movies, the timeline of X-Men movies, or characters that have been set up or gone or died or whatever. We wanted something to feel very different, very fresh, and ultimately something very human.
I think both Hugh and I wanted to find a way to make a movie about these characters that was actually a dramatic film.
It is better this way, because I suck at this. Bad shit happens to people I care about. You understand me?
Rather than being a multitude of different characters with different objectives and intentions and storylines, this is one overriding storyline, which I really responded to very, very strongly.
In terms of narratives, we were actually taking more from the Craig Kyle X-23 series of comics than we were from Old Man Logan.
Obviously, I've read Old Man Logan, and there are elements of that, but there's more differences than similarities, and that wasn't what we were using as a template.
Can everyone frame up on A? The most powerful effect Mark Millar's Old Man Logan had on me was its setting and its look. The story involved a lot of characters we didn't even have the rights to, but also the story is very bleak, and I wanted to make a film with heart. There was a time when the action movie was still character-based and not spectacle-based, and the superhero film has become kind of like the Western was in the 50s. There are dozens of them a year.
Wolverine. I knew it was you.
I had a vision of something closer to Unforgiven, in not necessarily the story, but what Unforgiven did for the Western, with the lead character Clint Eastwood. There's so much fan following and history, and he kind of just turned it on its head a little bit. Now, Old Man Logan, having spoken to the writer, is absolutely inspired by Unforgiven. So I like to see the connection more in that way.
On the last Wolverine movie, we were always talking about outlaw Josie Wales. So the Western was always a part of our conversations whenever we were talking about the Wolverine character.
It's so big on you right now, it's kind of deadifying you. And what I want to feel is just the, fuck, I don't want to do this. Yes.
It's a superhero movie, but within that, we try to create a subgenre so that you feel like you're seeing something different.
I think Wolverine's essentially a Western character. That's what he is at his essence. He is an outlaw. He is a character with a great moral code, at odds with the society in which he lives.
I know you're still good inside. I know you want to help us.
You don't know anything about me.
I think the Western motif came really naturally to the film the second we reduced the scope of the movie to something more intimate. The Western's that we all love and remember are rarely about the battle of X or Y or kind of the winning of a great territory. They're really about, will this farmer get to keep his land? Will this man hold on to his family? Will this dark family control this county? The questions are local, and yet they seem huge. 3, 2, 1, action! Stay up with them. Suffer, but stay with him. Turn, look, see what happened, then go. You're involved in this, you lose the guy, shit, beep, beep, someone's bumping at you, you look back, then the guy's waving you through. Good, cut, you got it.
Jim is one of the finest dramatic directors that I know. I think his skills with regard to performance and drama in general are remarkable.
He is a director who can express very clearly what he thinks a scene is about, or a character, or a relationship is about, and then he's prepared to throw it all away and do something different. And I think most actors find that exciting, that they are not being restrained within certain parameters of directorial objective.
He's an amazing writer. And when we worked on The Last Wolverine and on Kate and Leopold, the first movie I did with him, there were scripts that had been written that he directed. I was really excited about the possibility of what would come if Jim had a clean slate, a blank canvas, and that's what we had.
I had this kind of strange vision in my head that I just wanted to make a road movie with these characters. The idea of almost trapping myself as a filmmaker, putting them in a car and putting them on the highway would kind of tie my hands. We couldn't do something about worlds colliding or an alien invasion. The movie would essentially force itself to operate on a more intimate level.
Jim's very keen on sort of establishing the relationships between people and really making sure he burrows into those interconnections.
He likes to subvert what is the obvious way of doing something, to try and find another way around it so that it doesn't fit just the cliche of this big dramatic moment. He does everything to play against that or divert that.
I think he's a good director. It's fun working with him. Lots of directors just tell you what they want you to do, but he says, just make it real.
The trickiest thing about writing and directing superhero films is if someone is invincible, if someone cannot be hurt, they're essentially kind of uninteresting.
The beginning of this movie, Logan is very lost. He is despondent. He's older. There's quite a few more grey hairs, but he's not well. He's sick. He's physically sick. And I would say spiritually, but emotionally, not in a great place. He's long past the stage in his life where he reacts to people's pleas and cries for help. He has come to the conclusion that generally when he helps, things end up worse off.
You're coming upon a man who's getting poisoned from the inside out. His skeleton, made of adamantium, is leaching inside him, and he's suffering. So we're finding a character in extreme distress.
He's not a hero anymore. He's a fucking mess. His body doesn't behave like it used to. His morality doesn't engage like it used to. He's just getting by.
All of the elements that made Logan, Wolverine, are here in this movie. It's just that all the circumstances are different, and that's what makes this so interesting. The guy's struggling, really struggling.
To go back and be the person you've been trying not to be in order to do the right thing, that's always an interesting notion for a character.
He's always been in this role kind of grumpy, but not as grumpy as in this one. He's really grumpy.
The issues that the character is confronting are the most challenging ones he's come upon. It's been important for Hugh each time that we give him a journey as an actor that was engaging and interesting and fresh for him. So we had to work hard to kind of find new ground.
He still seems interested in finding new elements, digging under the surface. So I think that's a great testament to him. He's not complacent about this character, that he's still burrowing into it and finding new ways of sort of exploring him.
It's the best I've ever seen him as Wolverine. I think it's the best I've ever seen him, period.
The reason if the movie works at all works because Hugh Jackman committed 1,000% to playing this role and to playing it without compromise, to playing him older, broken, angry, all the things that make him wholly unappealing, and somehow manages to find humanity underneath all of that and to make him heroic at the same time. And that goes well beyond anything that was on the page.
The thought of Wolverine and Hugh Jackman cannot now be separated. The man and the role have merged. I don't mean to say that you need to be scared of Hugh Jackman, that he might actually rip your neck open at any moment. I poetic. There's no other actor I know who is less likely to do something like that than Hugh.
What's extraordinary to me is just seeing the contrast between the real Hugh, who couldn't be more lovely and sweet, natured and generous, and then him having to sort of put on that gruff, taciturn man dealing with his darkness and his demons. It seems so far from the real man.
It's the opposite of him. It really is, because he's very nice and funny and sings all the time and tells jokes and stuff. But then when he's the Wolverine, it's a kind of total change. Like suddenly he's a grumpy man who hates you, and then they say cut and he's smiling and telling jokes. Ow, ow, ow.
It seemed to me that Wolverine may be one of the darkest, most complex characters in the comic book universe. And every time for the last 17 years I've seen PG-13, a little part of me has winced going, Wolverine would never be in a PG-13 movie. I don't think you would ever watch a PG-13 movie. There's just nothing about him seeing PG-13.
There's a manifesto in the script, a little 2-paragraph thing that we wrote about how the violence was going to feel, how it was going to appear, how it was going to be portrayed, that it was going to be meaningful, impactful, and have lasting consequences.
I didn't want to make just a more violent, more sexy, more explicit, obscene movie. I wanted to somehow make an adult movie.
I've heard people too.
You have to learn how to live with that.
It's the tone of this character who is full of rage and at times self-loathing and an anger towards the world that has shunned him.
I was like, this will not be a movie driven by a rating. It's not R-rated because of the violence, even though there is some R-rated violence in it. That's not what defines it as R-rated. That R rating is more about the subject matter, the way the characters are treated, the way violence is depicted.
When you make a movie rated R, it resets everyone how they're thinking about the movie. They instantly understand this is not a movie for children. So suddenly they don't expect you to be making a movie that's going to appeal to 9-year-olds. With that anticipation gone, you suddenly are making a movie about more grown-up themes.
It was just basically taking off the seatbelt, taking off any kind of restriction, and let's just dive into this character.
It feels more grounded, and it's certainly tough and at times extremely violent.